Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. Man, am I getting a bunch of requests just now kind of floating in. I was checking my eggs and I was checking my YouTube just to make sure I got all the requests I can go through. The way that we're going to set up here is we're going to do, and I don't want this to like last longer than 2 hours, kind of like last time. The way I'm going to set up here, I'm going to talk about macro. I'm going to talk about the indexes. I'm going to talk about SPY, QQQ, IWM. I'm going to talk about some of the major stocks that somebody have requested. I'm going to try to do that within the first hour, and then maybe take a little bit of a break. And I'm going to go to crypto. I'm going to talk about Bitcoin, talk about Ethereum, talk about somebody asked about Litecoin, Solana, DOGE, Sui, everything. And talk about miners too. ICP, man, there's like a lot of things I want to go through. So I'm just going to dive right into it. So first of all, thank you so much for joining my live stream tonight. I'm going to try to do this on a regular time around Saturday Eastern time, anywhere around 5 to 6. That's kind of my goal. And if you want to comment, if you want to request for charts, because I'm literally getting like about 70 or 80 chart requests between X and YouTube, just from paid subscribers and members alone. So if you want to request a chart, if you request on X, I'm just not going to be able to get to it. Anyway, without further ado, SPY, SB 500 monthly chart here. Somebody asked a question right off the bat. Well, first of all, what do I think about SPY? Where do I think the market is going? Do I think that a crash is coming? It's actually quite incredible that the sentiment is extremely poor, because there is actually something called a AAII sentiment survey, and or even the CNN, the Fear and Greed sentiment index. It's both of those are really quite poor. You have more bears than bulls, and we just have like the inauguration coming on Monday. We also just have SPY really getting close to all-time highs here. So Bitcoins are over like 100,000. So I don't understand in terms of the bearish sentiment. This is the monthly chart here that really goes all the way from, let me see if I can draw that here. That really goes all the way from let me see, I think I messed up the setting here. That's supposed to be 100. All right, that's more like it, I think. Actually, yeah, the whole idea is that we have pretty poor sentiment, but SPY just keeps on making all-time highs after all-time highs after all-time highs, as is designed to do, because the government just keeps on printing money. Without going into anything too crazy here, first of all, somebody asked about the fact that SPY has gone up on bearish divergence on our side, whether or not we should be worried. The answer is no, because if you can imagine the entire way up over here, it was going up on bearish divergence, because price has gone up over here, whereas RSI still hasn't really made this made this high very last cycle. So the entire time it's going on bearish divergence. It doesn't matter, right? The entire time from 2018, 2020 was going on bearish divergence. It doesn't matter, right? The entire time when you were going up all the way up in 2021 was on bearish divergence, and that doesn't matter. Right now we've gone up again, making all-time highs on bearish divergence, and I don't think that matters. The truth is, in addition to just looking at bearish divergence, we actually have something that's pretty significant that has happened here, which is what we have done is we really have broke through this bearish RSI trend line, and we back tested it. To me, I think it's a pretty important thing, because that also goes along with the not the US, actually the global liquidity index, right? A lot of people are worried because we are having decrease in global liquidity, right? But it's basically the same thing. You have a horizontal line over here, and you have global liquidity just kind of coming back and doing a little bit of back test here to kind of reset your sentiment here a little bit more, to get you a little bit more scared. But there's really nothing to really worry about in terms of what I'm thinking about the market here. If you believe in the whole like elite wave thing, it really to me is a little bit more subjective. I don't like to draw elite waves. But if you can imagine, if this is like a 5-wave impulse, this is wave 1, and wave 3 is just in the middle of it. Usually wave 3 is the longest and the furthest, you know. Or if you decide to draw wave 1 here, and that's wave 2, and then this is wave 3. Wave 3 is supposed to be longest and most powerful. I just don't see any like reason to be particularly concerned. Even look at like Bollinger Band. We're not really overextended. I'm not really that concerned about that either. If you look at Ichimoku, we're not really that overextended from the Tenkan here either, because sometimes you get overextended, you tend to get punished for it. If you get, let me see. Yeah, I actually think that this bull market here is pretty sustainable if you look at the log scale, and it looks very, very similar, mirroring a multi-year bull cycle that we have here after the great financial crisis. I'm not really that worried about, you know, this bull market, you know, kind of overextending or anything like that, like the bears. There's no evidence for me to worry about it. I'm looking at the NASDAQ here, and with the NASDAQ, I do have a GAN that I've calibrated, hopefully correctly. No, incorrectly. I'm going to go ahead and just delete that. I have to figure this out later. Sorry, guys. But the same thing is happening with the QQQ, where it's basically just making all-time high after all-time high after all-time high, right? A lot of people are worried about this candle over here. A lot of people worry about this gravestone candle over here. You know, that marks the top, maybe. And I was kind of arguing that I don't think so. There might be a little bit of bearish continuation next month, which we did have a little bit wick down below. But it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, the market's topping just because you have a gravestone candle. You cannot determine the trend based on one candle alone. You just can't do that. Sometimes you do have an inverted hammer, you know, kind of like a shooting star candle here that could signify the top, like here that can signify the top, but it doesn't have to. Like, this is a perfect illustration that it's just a single candle. The trend is still up. And as far as I'm concerned, again, looking at Bollinger Band, it's not overextended. Look at the Ichimoku cloud, a little bit overextended away from the Tenkan, but I think it's probably got enough juice to keep going up higher. I think right now we're in a very similar situation where we're like a multi-year rally. We're in a very similar situation here, like we're here with a, you know, multi-year rally. I'm not that concerned about the indexes. I'm not that concerned about the NASDAQ here either. The elephant in the room is IWM. Why are they keep on shorting IWM? I was told that apparently the max pain for last Friday was at 225, and they sure as hell closed it right around the area. Am I worried about the way that it looks right now? Just looking at the Ichimoku cloud and also looking at the Fibonacci levels. The answer to your question is no. I'm not worried about that at all. What the monthly chart showing you here is really just kind of trying to push through and trying to close about the previous all-time high wick right there, but you just haven't really been able to do that because it's way away from the Tenkan over here. So what happened in December? Well, the sentiment in November was extremely euphoric, by the way. It was one of my best months in terms of like engagement, in terms of everything else. I have not seen that level of engagement. I was getting like 1 million views on X, and I really wasn't doing anything differently per day, right? And right now the sentiment has really been totally reset. I think right now I got maybe like 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 views, impressions, whatever you call it, on X daily. And I also initially have like a lot more, just a lot more engagement in general. It's just really been subsided. Meanwhile, the entire thing is doing right now has just been riding the Tenkan up along. It's backtesting the Tenkan, has been holding. The only other thing is that it pushed through the 0.786. Now, whenever stock pushed through the 0.786, generally it tends to want to make all-time high. It didn't just push through the 0.786. Actually came back test not just 0.786, but also back test the Tenkan. In addition, it also came back down even further, grabbed liquidity down below in the two teams. All of that got grabbed, and just like all of the liquidity absorption over here in August, all liquidity got grabbed, and looks like we're ready to go up higher. There's a big demand wick over here. I actually love the way that the IWM is looking right now. Why am I talking about IWM? IWM is the Russell 2000 index fund, and Russell 2000 basically represents the small caps. You have a lot of financials, you have a lot of more speculative stocks that are a little bit more debt-ridden, and they're just going to be more sensitive to economics, macroeconomics. They're going to be more sensitive to cycles and things like that. So whenever you have some issue here, for example, if you have a back test of the global liquidity, maybe it's just a little bit more sensitive to that. Maybe that's why it's kind of going down here a little bit and just back testing some of the very important level here. If it's able to back test the Tenkan here, if it's able to back test 0.786, if it passes, which I think it will, then I think it can continue up on higher. And whenever small cap stocks such as IWM starts to make all-time high, generally that's going to be a little bit more of a sentiment shift, and things could get pretty bullish. And I think that the market makers and the whales and the institutions and the market manipulators have masterfully engineered an almost entire year and a half of higher highs and higher lows on the IWM while keeping sentiment extremely horrible, while keeping retail investors away from the market. They've done an extremely spectacular job of doing that. And I don't know how they did it, because SPY just keeps on making like it just wants to form all-time highs. So is the NASDAQ. And whenever you have like this wick candle here in like August, everybody is all freaked out. But all it was just a little bleep here on some like macro event that is not, that's more financial, like currency speculation. It's nothing really to do with anything bad going on in the world, right? So to me, I think risk on sentiment is still coming. The January is not over yet. Inauguration is happening on Monday. Doesn't mean that we're going to end up just plummeting from here. I don't know. There's a lot of demand down here. I think it's probably going to end up getting pushed up higher. Welcome low gains. Welcome everybody, by the way. I just think it's going to get pushed up a lot higher from here after a big, nice kind of hammer bottom over here with a big, nice wick, right? As far as I'm concerned, a big sentiment indicator is going to be the ARK fund, right? ARK fund is, ran by, as you know, ran by Cathie Woods. It's basically has like a lot more speculative, innovative, stocks or whatever. It's been making a comeback. It bottomed around December 2022. I can't call that bottom, by the way, like a while back. I think within bottom plus or minus like 5 days, I was saying, I think it's bottomed. Whoever buys here is going to be pretty happy. Like all kinds of really bitter comments, but regardless, that was the bottom over here. And since then, it's just been making higher highs and higher lows for the last 2 years. And people don't even really care all that much about Cathie Wood stocks right here. So hi, Benedict. Welcome to your weekend as well. So as far as I'm concerned, bullish crossover here, push through and still find support here, 0.382, which is a very important FIB level, by the way. If it's able to hold that, that's incredible. And it's going to go to the cloud over here around 0.5, right? And if ARK fund goes from like, $60 to like $70, then a lot of the underlying stocks actually going to also keep flying, right? Also, IWM continues to challenge from the 0.786. It just keeps on going higher. Then I think that a lot of the really, really speculative stocks are also going to end up, flying as well. So I actually like the whole setup of the market. A lot of people are really, really scared about the US dollar. They scream bullish on US dollar whenever it's just like out here on a big megaphone pattern. It's going to either keep going up, or I think this is the top of the range. It's going to come back down and to challenge the cloud here. We'll see. Like a lot of people are screaming that, but I don't really care about the US dollar that much, because if you just look at the stock market, like, do you think they care? Do you think they care? I don't even think the IWM really cares all that much. It's just, I don't even think that like ARK fund really cares about all that much. And Bitcoin certainly doesn't care about that. So if you're worried about the yields, it's a financial instrument. A lot of people are like, hey, this has to go down because that is going up. 2-year yield is extremely exhausted. It's just been making a higher high here, again rejected here after a bearish cross here, taking Kitchen on Ichimoku cloud. And it's been rejected both, not just by the Kitchen, but you're also rejected by the Tenkan right here as well. Right. So where's the next logical area for it to go if this is the lower high that you're looking for? 2 years is going to plummet all the way down to 3.4, 3.3%, somewhere around the cloud over here. That's why I think it's going. And the 10-year is looking a lot stronger, but even 10 years looking kind of nasty. You got a little bit of a hammer top over here, and on the weekly, you got a bearish engulfing candle to close the week. So like even 10-year, I'm actually not that bullish on. I just think it's funny. Like everybody was screaming yields higher for longer in like April 2024, and everybody's also screaming yields higher for longer for January of 2025, and that's when the market is like closes all-time highs. So I don't know like what the heck is wrong with you. Whenever you have the US printer, this is the US money supply, by the way, it has drastically reaccelerated to the upside. Like it's almost getting to like previous all-time high territory. You talk about the actual technical quantitative tightening not ending yet, but the bottom of the US liquidity index is back in October 2023, which is when the 10-year had peaked, right? So liquidity is going to keep going up and it's accelerating to the upside, right? I need to use a log scale because they print money in a log scale. And if you just look at history, we had a drastic bull market all the way from the great financial crisis all the way up to even COVID, right? Bitcoin went up one of the craziest Bitcoin cycle happened in 2015, 2017. Did we have like a crazy amount of money printing that's out of the ordinary? The answer is no, right? So a lot of people saying that like Bitcoin only went up and all these speculative assets only went up because they went through some crazy money printing. Maybe, maybe not, because you can see that market can also just go on whenever you have a normal amount of money printing going, right? And right now we have a little bit of a downslope here, but we're reaccelerating. We're getting back to the usual trend. So yeah, to me, I think it's just like business as usual. As far as I'm concerned, I think oil is looking weak. I don't really see inflation being a problem. I just think it's a little bit of a dead Cantonese bounce here. And this is another lower high here of this, and it's probably going to bounce over here. I suspect that oil might fall through the floor, and it's kind of ridiculous. If the economy does well, you think the oil does well, but not always. Oil is hugely manipulated, and there's a lot of like speculation. I think it's just the speculation just went way too far, way too fast. And right now it's suffering. Right now it's suffering. You are talking about flattening of the 20-month moving average. And you're talking about a little bit of that Cantonese bounce here. That Cantonese cat bounce here. I think it's going to come back here to the 60s. Is what I think. Somebody asked about a big stock, which is Apple. I will look at Apple here, and all I gotta say is it looks extremely bullish. The reason why I say that is because simply, if you look at the highs and the lows over here, it's been forming nothing but higher highs and higher lows, right? Actually, let me tick off the fib log here. It's just kind of hanging out in space. So if you look at Apple overall, it's just been making higher highs and higher lows. It's extremely tricky here. Like whenever um, Warren Buffett supposedly sold Apple, and like he already sold, right? Like why are people scared about Apple after Buffett already sold? All it did was just come back to 0.76 here multiple times, perfectly bouncing off of it, by the way, right? Perfectly bouncing off 0.786, by the way, and it just decided, hey, we're back to the 0.786 fit level enough. Let's make some all-time high stuff. So it just shot up like in 5 or 6 minutes, just went all the way from like 170s and all the way up to crazy like 260s or something like that. Got rejected at the 2.272, which is a common level for stocks to get rejected at. And right now, it's just kind of coming back, hang out in space, trying to find some support here. Where are you going to find support at? Well, support is actually a little bit far down. I don't like to buy Apple because I think that it probably needs to consolidate sideways here a little bit longer. Whenever things just get a little bit way far away from the tank, and like it did over here, things generally get punished, right? Whenever things get a little bit too far over the tank, like it did over here, things just get punished, right? Sideways over here, corrected through price over here, right? Whenever things get a little bit away from the blue line, the tank over here, things get punished, right? Whenever things get a little bit too far to the blue line, things get punished, right? Whenever things get a little bit too far away from the blue line, things get punished sideways, right? So either sideways for longer, or it can actually come back down, maybe back test some of the stuff down here below. I think it's most likely to go sideways because I'm actually not seeing any like bad things happening with the indexes. So I actually think it's going to be okay. I personally, I'm not worried about a higher low here. In terms of where the higher low could be finding support, well, it's finding support perfectly here at the Ichimoku Kijun over here last week, right? And generally, that could be a pretty good area where things can bounce from. Just like over here back in the August 5th scare, it went all the way to the Kijun on the weekly here, and it just bounced drastically, right? I'm not making any of this stuff up. It also got a little bit underneath the Bollinger Support band. Do I get scared about when things get a little bit underneath the Bollinger Support band? Not necessarily. It does that all the time, even on a bull trend. I just want to see it, reclaim it as soon as possible. Maybe it's going to hover, maybe go sideways here for a few weeks or a couple months. Maybe even get underneath it and just kind of go sideways here for a couple months before going up higher, because I just showed you that maybe is a little bit overextended on a monthly, right? On RSI, you can see that this trend going up right here has been on a little bit of bearish divergence, so you're getting punished for it right now. It's working its stuff out, but you got a lot of these like hidden bullish divergence that's also building here too. So I think it's probably going to go like maybe sideways here for a little longer before going up. But overall, higher highs, higher lows. I think the market looks good, so I don't think Apple is going to have issues. If you're talking about fundamental sense, I think the comps from last year compared to this year in terms of their earnings is going to be just fine, because I think last year they had like some really bad numbers. I think they should be able to beat that without much problem. Gonna answer some questions here. Why don't I trade stocks in Hong Kong like Danny and pay no CGT tax at all? Because my money is not tied in Hong Kong. My money is tied in the US, and I work in the US. My primary income is at the US. So if I end up investing over there, I end up actually having to pay taxes in the US as well. That there's I looked into it. I get no tax benefits because I'm based in the US. Thank you, Vasu, for your the kind words. And yeah, low gains. I think Danny is probably one of the best Patreon that I ever run into. Like a lot of times, you pay somebody like $100 a month on like some Patreon, you get like nothing, or even like $35, you get like nothing. But Danny is actually extremely cheap. I think he provides a lot of value. I like him. I like his charts, and it helps influence my thinking too. So I yeah, highly encourage Danny. I also like Matt. Obviously, we don't know the great Masby. Check him out. I basically work with these guys, and they are some extremely great traders and investor. Like they're some of like the best minds that I've kind of run into here. So strongly recommend checking them out. We have GME here. How can I do a live stream without doing GME? I guess I should draw the fit level here at this wick, huh? That would make more sense, yeah. But the whole thing about GME, I did a couple of members only videos today, and I just want to say that I still think it's bullish. If I just look at like a higher time frame here, this is like the beginning of the GME stock, right? It made a higher high here in January 2021. Since then, it made a higher low over here. It's been bouncing off of that during the entire downtrend over here. There's absolutely no volume here at all. Whales have started really to accumulate behind the scenes over here, and they just drag price all the way down here, kill the sentiment, and then now they gave a little bit of a pump, and it changed the behavior, by the way. It changed the entire behavior of the stock. So generally, if you look at Elliott waves, I don't actually do Elliott waves, but I do Elliott waves in the sense that I look at Elliott waves through the lenses of the Bollinger Band. I look at Elliott waves in terms of, I think the first impulse of wave one generally is the one that actually changes the long-term moving average, like the 20-month moving average, from negative sloping from resistance here to positive sloping to support, right? And also helps to kind of contract the Bollinger Band and say, hey, we might have a little bit of a trend change here. We're not going to go down anymore. Let's just go and contract it. And that's kind of your wave one. Wave two is the corrective wave, because wave one generally, it just can't go way too far, way too fast without having a Bollinger Band expansion that comes later on with wave three, right? So this is wave one, this is wave two. Wave three is going to happen right now. I think we're just at the beginning of wave three. Generally, wave three is the most powerful, because wave three is when you actually have a trend change, consolidation, waiting for like the final whales institution to really get loaded up here. And that's when wave three is generally starting to kind of expand to the upside and downside here on the Bollinger Band. And it generally likes to hug the upper Bollinger Band, just like to kind of go up along with it. What's in wave three right now? Tesla, Palantir, right? I think I almost want to say maybe and it's hard to say. I don't want to speculate. I think some people say that Bitcoin is on its wave five. I actually think it's wave three too. But the Bollinger Band expansion is gonna happen. It's happening right now, and we do have a little bit of corrective wave here. What happened here? Well, we pushed through the 0.382, but we're getting rejected 0.5 simply just because we can't go up that much higher, that much faster, because we are still waiting for the Bollinger Band to expand, right? You also have a lot of these different kind of resistance levels up here above as well, around like 37, 36 on the monthly Ichimoku Tenkan Kijin. On the weekly Ichimoku, you have the cloud up here around like 30, 36, 37. it got rejected at 0.5, so it didn't really quite get to the cloud, and it just kind of came back, trying to find support down here underneath. Where is the support going to be found? Like, if you stick with Ichimoku, so far it's been trying to find support in a rising Tenkan. So far it's finding support right there, right? Tenkan is around 27.35, and Ryan's finding support right there. It does have a little bit of evening star look to it, so it's not great, right? Could price hold here? It certainly can, because there's really honestly no volume, so it can do whatever the heck it wants to do. It can just bounce up from here with a little bit of volume and goes up to Valhalla, or it can just go down to like 25, 24, which you're going to still have some additional support down below, right? You have the Pullman support band that's catching up. And basically, whenever you have a higher, like you have a higher high here compared to here, you're trying to find a higher low, right? Because the whole trend here on the daily, this seemed like it needed to kind of take a break, because this look over here does look a little bit exhausted. Initially, I thought it was probably just going to go sideways here a little bit, or it can just keep going a little bit up higher on exhaustion. But the truth is, on a daily trend, you have these bearish divergences they're currently working on right now. So as far as I'm concerned, the volume is pathetic. This is a technical move to the downside. And also, if you just look at a Bollinger Band here on the daily, it's just basically touching the lower Bollinger Band on low volume. I don't know how far prices go down on low volume. The lower it goes, the better risk reward ratio it is. All I care about is that the higher time frame, even though the month is not over yet, you have a little bit of bearish engulfing candle here, kind of like you did over here, which ultimately didn't matter. But you have a bearish engulfing candle over here that may or may not end up being bearish engulfing at the end of the month. Regardless, you have Bollinger Band expansion, you have 20-month moving average going upside, you have 20-month moving average flipping from resistance to support, and it went from negative sloping to positive sloping. So I actually find GME to still be a very good setup. A lot of stocks look like this, by the way. And I think this is probably one of the representatives of how it goes. I think that shall it break about 0.5, the next couple of levels is going to be 0.618, 0.786. I don't know how far it would go. I expect the cycle to kind of hit some of the higher targets here above, which is going to be a tremendous amount of gains from here. Could it go a lot further to like triple digits? Well, it depends on whether or not 0.786 gets broken. Right. Those are my thoughts on GME. Just want to get that out of the way. Another stock that some like multiple people asked me about, so I'm going to just say for the live stream here, Rocket Lab. What do I think about Rocket Lab? Well, it certainly has rocketed, and so far is consolidating up above here in the sky. It basically got rejected here at 1.414 on the, I think this is linear scale, right? And it went way too far. It closed the candle way outside the upper Bollinger Band here. That is just not meant to be. You're supposed to follow gravity, so you simply come back and touch, almost touch. It tried to touch, but it couldn't, right? The upper Bollinger Band on the monthly. That is the way a stock tries to prevent from getting overextended, is just to kind of come back and just kind of touch up a Bollinger Band and make sure it's not way too far overextended. The other thing about the stock is, once it touches it, you can see a lot of things are doing the same thing. Palantir just did the exact same thing, where it just kind of came back and touched the upper Bollinger Band, right? Tesla did the same thing here too, where it just kind of came back. It was initially a bit way too far, way too fast, come back and back test the upper Bollinger Band. And that's kind of what Rocket Lab is doing right now. So I think that this is a healthy correction. It could always go down further, right? It could always go back down, back test the previous all-time high, back test the wick over here. Does it have to, though? I don't think it has to. Generally, when we have a big giant move up here, I expect at least 2 or 3 months of consolidation sideways. And it's doing that. Does it have to correct sideways a lot longer, like what Bitcoin did, what MicroStrategy did for like 6-7 months? It's plausible, but that's not necessarily my primary case, right? I would say that whenever the consolidation is done, by the way, you have the monthly Katana here. This is something that's extremely bullish. And price is currently way outside, way above the Tenkan and Kijun here on the monthly, which is a little bit concerning for me. I don't like to buy things when they're just way above the Tenkan and Kijun. I just don't like to buy them. With that said, what else is pretty far away to Tenkan and Kijun? So is Palantir, right? So what I'm going to say is, it's a bull trend. It looks like it wants to go higher. I don't know how far the higher low is going to go. It could go all the way down to 0.786, and it would still be a bull trend. So am I going to buy Rocket Lab here at this level? Probably not, but I might end up missing out, and I'm okay. a lot of support a lot further down below. It also seemed to be finding support here at like a rising 10, although it did end up closing the week a little bit underneath of that. Regardless, am I seeing any warning sign it has to go down a lot further? Not necessarily. I do not like the fact that the downtrend here is on a little bit increasing volume here. So there might be a little bit further down to go. Who knows? But just so you know, if it goes down, it's just trying to find a higher low. And if you decide to, hold on, I still think that there are more gains to be made, but there might be a lot of potential short-term pain over at least over the next few weeks, either sideways or going down further. Or I could be wrong and just ends up rocking it from there because it did what it had to do and just touched the upper Bollinger Band already, right? So I would say that the furthest downside is probably 0.786. I don't see it going out further than that. I could see about a third of a chance where it just can't go up from here because it already touched up a Bollinger Band. Looks like that's what I wanted to do. See a third of a chance where it come back and back test the previous all-time high here before going up higher. And I also see a third of a chance where it go back to 0.786. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Anyway, that's Rocket Lab. Somebody asked about, a lot of people ask about EOSE. A lot of people ask about EOSE on my X on and before I go talk about that, I just want to answer your question about what's the fundamental thesis on GME coupled with TA. I honestly, to be completely honest with you, I can talk about the fundamental thesis, but I think I would talk about it in terms of like the general macro view, in terms of cycle, in terms of what I think what GME might represent and what other people think that it might represent something else. The balance sheet of GME is great. Like there's actually like I actually sleep well at night holding GME because their balance sheet is great. So the question is like, what are they going to do with the cash? There's a lot of speculation that's being involved, and there's a lot of accumulation by the whales over the last couple of years. I actually don't really care what the fundamental narratives are. I just see whales just been accumulating for a very long time, and I see higher highs and higher lows. I'm just gonna get into it because it's the minimally speaking, and some people might get offended by this. Minimally speaking, GME is a meme stock. Minimally speaking, GME has a community of folks that are involved. Minimally, it's easy to get GME the attention that it deserves on the media when it moves. Minimally, right? So that's my thesis. Anyway, regards to EOSE, this is a weekly chart here. And I'm going to just turn all these indicators off here because it gets a little bit busy. What is it doing right now? Well, what it's doing is it broke through the Ichimoku cloud. Initially, it got a little bit of rejection here. Ichimoku cloud came back to this weekly kitchen, and it bounced and it just took off from the cloud and just kind of went off to the sunset from there, right? You also potentially have like a monthly katana when the blue fuses with the red, when they look like they're about to have a cross, and if they go up together, generally it's a pretty impulsive move, right? You can also see this impulsive move because you also have the 20-month moving average flipping for resistance here to support, and you also have enough price action that is dragging up a Bollinger Band, a low Bollinger Band, very, very far apart, right? Upper going up, lower Bollinger Band going all the way down to the negatives. This is basically telling you that this trend is very extremely parabolic, very, very bullish, right? I'm not going to bet against the trend. It's still touching, the candle is still touching the upper Bollinger Band here. There's no reason for me to be bearish here. I would say that the time the time to really buy into EOSE was probably whenever it ends up getting rejected here at the cloud and coming back test, and you're trying to buy a higher low here. I think that was probably the time to buy. Am I going to buy here? Probably not. I missed the boat, man. I mean, like I'm just not going to chase something. There's only so many stocks you can buy. It did look great here, right? But I just can't chase everything. Do I see any concerns here on the weekly here? Well, you already worked out the bearish divergence here with this drop already down to the kitchen, and right now you just made a higher high RSI here. The trend is fine. The trend is fine. The RSI on the monthly is only in the 60s. Like it's got a lot more room to go up. The next resistant level is probably going to be at the leading span here. immature Ichimoku cloud bottom. That's what this is, right? 9.4 is probably going to be where it's going to have gravitating up to. Does it get corrected before that? Maybe. But I just see this as a pretty decent trend, right? So if you look at cloud, right, it's at 9.4. If you also do a weekly chart here, let me get rid of the RSI here. It's getting a little bit busy. Get rid of the volume here. If you're looking at this here, you had a bullish engulfing candle last week, so probably going to have some bullish continuation. Minimally got to 0.618, which is going to be around $7. I think before you really see any major resistance, probably at $7, you're going to see some major resistance here because this is an ARK and because it's also at the 0.618, right? You see how the scan here has some pretty decent market symmetry. After it broke through this ARK, after it got rejected here, it's probably going to go to the next ARK. What's going to happen after the next ARK, I don't know. But probably going to get there. I would say give it time. It's probably going to push for this ARK up here too. I think the cycle minimally ends at 0.786 probably because it's got enough juice to push up there on the monthly. What happens after 0.786 stays at 0.786? I actually don't know. If it pushes through, it can go a lot higher to the ARK up here or even above. If it doesn't, the cycle ends there. 0.786 probably going to be the line in the sand. EOSE. OKTA. It's a stock that I think has garnered a lot of attention over the last few years. The honest truth is it's just higher highs and higher lows. Like there's nothing really to talk about here. It's claiming the 20-month moving average, doing this higher high and higher low here. It was able to build enough consolidation to allow the 20-month moving average to be so negatively slipping and flip from resistance here potentially to support, right? We're still trying to flip into support, by the way. We got rejected here last month at 0.382. So far, it looks like we're reclaiming the 20-month moving average. I would like to see the stock use the 20-month moving average to bounce off of and go up higher and push for 0.382 to get back to the upper Bollinger Band here around triple digits. I would like for it to see that, and there's no reason to think that it won't because it's forming higher highs and higher lows, and it's just doing what it needs to do to consolidate, right? I am going to move on to the weekly here. On the weekly, it's still got resistance down here too, right? It's not just the 0.6382. It's also underneath the weekly Ichimoku cloud, right? It's just been oscillating around the Ichimoku cloud, oscillating around the 0.382 here for almost 2 years, building up a lot of energy, but mostly forming higher highs and higher lows. I think it's going to break through the cloud. You see a vulnerable area of the cloud here. It's probably going to break through the cloud and back to 0.5 here again, and we'll see how it reacts. Again, I think the cycle is probably going to end either at 0.618 or 0.786. If it breaks above 0.786, then you talk about a lot higher and maybe a little more sustainable bull trend. But that's kind of where I think the cycle would potentially be ending. Maybe. Cross. Need to do something with that 4B. 4 billion. Yeah, I know they need to. I don't know what they're doing, to be honest. Like, I don't. It's an extremely weird situation where they have a bunch of cash and anyway. I hate cash, so I'm just mostly in GME for the speculation, for the charts, and for those reasons alone. Yeah, $5 is too cheap for that. You're probably right. But I just don't like to chase. All right. I'm gonna keep moving. I have a couple more stocks here, and then I'm gonna see how far I can get through this. Intel. There apparently was some kind of news when it comes to Intel. Somebody was talking about some like buyout rumors or something like that. I don't know. I don't follow these kinds of things very closely because I can't just follow everything. I just like to look at charts and immediately have an idea in terms of what it could be doing, what the big money is doing. That's what I like to do. But if you want to look at the fundamental thesis and things like that, then be my guest. I don't know. Let's look at what Intel is doing. I got a little bit of a what do you call this? A Gantt square here. And the Gantt square is drawn from a very, very higher time frame here on the monthly with the wick. Actually, I don't know why my Gantt is all messing up here. Is it because I switched from lock? And I probably did. Yeah, I didn't draw it on the monthly. That's why. I'm going to get rid. Well, I don't want to get rid of it. Did I draw on 2 months? What the heck did I do? Did I draw the 2-month? I probably did. Yeah, 1440 and 500. Okay. So basically, it's just kind of you have to kind of stick with the GAN from the time frame that you draw, or else it gives you some really weird look. It's been basically stuck at this arc over here for a very long time. Broke through the arc and basically backtest the arc, backtest the horizontal. I'm gonna have to recalibrate that because I don't really trust that here at this point. There is some capitulation volume here. There are a few things that I like about Intel. First thing is, I look at capitulation volume. There's some capitulation volume over here in 2022. Right. I'm going to look at the monthly here to give you a little bit of a better picture. Some capitulation volume throughout 2022, but really some capitulation volume here around like August 2024. Since then, it did continue to make some lower lows here. So you know, it's still a falling knife. There's no guarantee that this is going to be the downtrend's over. But number one is I like the capitulation volume, right? Number two, I like the bullish divergence that's been setting up here on the monthly for about 2 years, where price is going down, RSI is going up, right? So there are a lot of things to really kind of like about this. As far as I'm concerned, if you also pull up the Bollinger Band here, it also did something that I generally like to. It's bounce from one side of the Bollinger Band and then push through to the other side. You also have a lot of these wicks down here below. There's a lot of demand around this $20 zone over here. Am I going to buy Intel? No, like I just don't like Intel. I'm sorry. I just don't like Intel. The chart looks like it could be a catchable falling knife, but there's no guarantee, of course, when it comes to falling knife. It looks like a catchable falling knife. If you really truly want to catch it, I'm seeing enough criteria here to make me feel with the bullish divergence on monthly, with capitulation volume, where the fact is touch the lower Bollinger Band here, even the lower Bollinger Band is extending to the downside, right? Which means that there's really potential for it to kind of fall down a lot more. But it did find support over here. There's a lot of wicks over here. It also has a pretty important horizontal zone that dates back for decades all the way around here, right? So a lot of volume here. People might be a little bit more reluctant to sell here. And I just find, like, if you're going to catch it, it's probably as good as it gets. But I won't catch it because it's a falling knife, and I don't see enough confirmation. I think the one thing I dislike is the Bollinger Band. The lower Bollinger Band is a little bit too far accelerated to the downside, so I'm a little bit worried about that. But why catch a falling knife when you don't have to, when you can do other things, such as looking at another chart request that I have on a fintech stock called FUTU that has been forming higher highs and higher lows. And basically all it's been doing is just broke through the previous all-time high here, and it's just back testing it. That's basically what this monthly chart is showing here, right? So why is it that you have to be, like, you know, cute and buy anything fancy like Intel, hoping to kind of cash the bottom, when you can just simply buy a stock like FUTU and chase it? I don't want to buy either, to be honest with you. I just don't know about enough about FUTU to want to be in it. I'm also very fintech heavy, so I'm not in it. But it looks like a very bullish chart. I don't have any concern. Look, Bollinger Band is expanding, right? Trailing moving average pointing to the upside, right? There's a lot of like big volume kind of push up here. The December red candle was an inside candle on, you know, slightly lower volume, and so far we're still trying to hang on to the upper Bollinger Band. It looks like this thing wants to keep going up, so I'm not that concerned, with the exception that it's still a little bit far away from the Tenkan, which generally I don't like. Maybe it's just going to go sideways here, wait for the Tenkan kind of catch up. After like a few more candles, like a lot of these low candles will get canceled by this average, and it's probably going to end up pushing up. Maybe that's what it's waiting for. Maybe it wants to come back and form even a little bit more further to do a little bit more of a higher low down here. The chart is still bullish, even if it comes back to the 0.786 and back test this wick over here. But it doesn't have to, right? Either hold up here, go higher, or come back to 0.786 and go higher. Those are my two primary cases, because I also see the monthly Tenkan over here. So I see a lot of very strong support zone down here. We'll see. Either up from here or come back down and bounce up. Where's it going to go this cycle? Who knows? I generally like stocks to, once they push for all-time high, to go to at least 1.414 or 1.618, which is 135, 150. You can go a lot higher. We'll see how it goes with time, right? But it's a bull trend. It's a bullish stock. I don't have any major concerns on this, and I also don't really see any sign for exhaustion here on the monthly. On the weekly, I'm also not really seeing any like bearish divergence for me to really get worried about quite just yet. So If price does keep going up higher, you're going to have a little bit more bearish divergence, but I think it's going to be able to build up enough energy to go up. You just had to try it in the bottom over here, so I'm not sure if it's going to have to go down lower. We also had a bullish engulfing candle last week too, right? So this might be it. Who knows? If it doesn't come back down 0.76, not the end of the world. I think it's fine, right? The couple other stocks, some of which was requested just now. One is FUTU. I looked at FUTU here. If you just don't use any indicators and you just look at the FIB levels and you just look at the market structure and you just look at the chart and look at the volume, what is it doing? It's forming higher highs and higher lows ever since March of 2022. It's a bull trend, right? Get that out of the way first. This is a weekly chart. You have a short-term downtrend that has been vicious for a lot of people over the last 3 to 4 months. Is this downtrend over? Well, nobody knows the answer to that, but I think we're getting pretty close. Why is that? Because of two things. One is the entire downtrend over here is on declining volume. I really think the downtrend volume is exhausted, right? Thing number two, you have a bullish engulfing candle over here, and on increasing volume. So that means that, hey, the downtrend over here, that was a fake move. I'm going to buy you all up, cancel the price action for the entire last 4 weeks. Don't worry about it. Right? You are underneath the 0.382, which is not great. But overall, this whole look over here is just back testing the horizontal breakout zone of this wick over here back in like December 2022. It can go down further and still be bullish, right? But I don't think it wants to anymore. If you're looking at bar support band, is reclaiming a bar support band. Sometimes bar support band is not perfect, especially when it comes to certain stocks. Like it's really, really good when it comes to Bitcoin. But for some stocks, it just kind of drops down below it a little bit for hovering around a few weeks before going up. This is what the behavior FUTU is, right? It can drop down underneath. Next thing you know, we have like this big like green candle with increasing volume over here, to kind of push prices back through the bar support band and to continue to go up from there. All it takes is just a little bit of volume because there's no volume on the way down to really reverse the trend. Where do I think the stock will go? Well, let me look at a higher time frame here too, right? Why can't the stock go up a lot higher immediately? Because we're just waiting for the upper bullish band to expand. I think it's expanding right here. It's still expanding slowly, but it got rejected over here. Coincidentally, closed to 0.7618. Coincidentally, also got rejected at 0.382. But I think it's going to end up gravitating back up to the upper Bollinger Band as it continues to expand. I think it's going to keep going up from here. There is a potential for this month to end up closing at bullish engulfing as well, right? And you can also see on the monthly, this whole downtrend volume is really kind of exhausted. I think the cycle probably minimally goes to 0.618 or 0.786, depending on how the Chinese print money, depending on how bullish the US market gets. It might even go higher because this is like a trading tool, kind of like the Robinhood of Asia, in Australia, apparently, if you will. It could go up higher to some of the higher targets, like 1.72, 272, 1.44, 1.618, and like double and triple. I can see that potentially happening too. One thing at a time, though, is consolidating sideways over here, is building up a base, it's doing what it needs to do. BABA is a laggard of a lot of Chinese stocks. I make these like members only video about China. I looked at BABA pretty much every week, and I've been talking about how these are all like more or less inside candle. I mean, this candle is not technically inside the candle, but the idea is the same. You have a big giant green candle, and you spend the next 3-4 months trying to see what the bears can do. The bears can do nothing. It just brought it back into creating more inside candles for these over here. And the entire time, it's just basically just maintaining the 20-month moving average flat, right? It was negative sloping as resistance, and now you're serving as support. For serving as very, very support. So that's guess where BABA is going to go. BABA is probably going to go up from here. I think it's going to push through 0.236. I think it's going to re-challenge 0.382. I think during that process, it's going to end up expanding the Bollinger Band here around Q1, Q2, and that's probably going to allow price to eventually, slowly over the next 12 months or so, maybe get to 0.618. If it gets really bullish, it can potentially get to 0.786. But I do see a very, very nice change of trend here. But BABA is a little bit of a laggard compared to like the Hang Seng Index in general. So, like even Hang Seng is not really touching the 20-month moving average. I think Hang Seng has a good chance to get to 0.786. to touch 28,000. Is it going to make an all-time high? I don't know, but I think this cycle is probably going to get to 0.786. I don't know whether or not it's going to end up getting there. So we'll see about that. In terms of BABA getting to like 0.76 or like higher. It doesn't have to make all-time high for you to make a lot of money from Chinese stocks, though. It's a trade. It's not an investment because I don't know whether or not it's going to make all-time high. I just don't know. All I know is it's building momentum to make a leg up. I don't know how high that leg's going to go. I think logically 0.76 would be reasonable, but there's a lot of outflow of capital from the Chinese market, even if the Chinese government print money. There's a lot of outflow of capital, from China to other places, so it's hard to say. I will get to Shiba. I will get to Ethereum. I like to talk about those maybe on the second half here, which we're getting close to. And I would definitely call about Coinbase. Not a problem. Do I use trailing stop loss on my big investment protect unforeseen events? No, I don't care. I I accept the risk. I don't think these stocks are gonna what I choose. Like Palantir, SoFi, like they can drop in 30 and 40% in like a week or two. That's fine. I look at trend. I still, yeah, I'm kind of crazy. Like stop loss gets hunted all the time. I just don't do it. It just, if it's a bull market, I'm not going to do things to try to protect myself from black swan unforeseen events, because those are very, very rare. Is the Russian invasion of Ukraine an unforeseen event? Probably not. I think some big money probably knew. Is the yen carry trade an unforeseen event? No, I think somebody already knew that. Like, I don't understand, in the only true black swan event, I think it was COVID. Like, that's really the big one. Everything else is just like, more or less kind of expected. Yeah, Matt, weekend's good so far. I'm here. They're making me work, man. I don't know. I guess I love doing this stuff anyway. So somebody asked about blade air motility. Very, very simple way to put it is turning bullish. I think this is a higher high compared to all these highs over here. It's really been making higher highs and higher lows ever since October 2023, and it shows, right? Basically, it's just backtesting the 20-month moving average. So it looks like it's holding. It's developing a bull trend. I think it's going to have some further bullish continuation whenever this consolidation is done, which I think it is. If you're looking at the, and this is my first time looking at the chart, by the way. You're looking at Ichimoku on a monthly, you have a bullish Tenkan Kijun cross, and you backtest the Tenkan Kijun. So I think you're going to have some bullish continuation to test the cloud up here. If you're talking about the Fibonacci levels, I can give you some Fibonacci levels over here. I like to do this on log. You can see how it got rejected here is at the 0.382 FIB level here perfectly, right? Like it did over here. Perfect rejection, coming back down to 0.236, bouncing perfectly as support. You see how it got rejected at 0.236 here for a year, right? Came back tested that area, back tested Kijun, back tested Tenkan. It looks like it wants to push through. It was just waiting for the Bollinger Band to expand. It was just literally just waiting for the Bollinger Band to expand. So if it pushes through, where's it going to go next? 0.5, 0.618, right? $6.4, $8.36. Those are the next targets to go. And I think it's ready. It may not be, but I think it's ready. Guys, I have spent about an hour talking about macro, talking about the indexes, talking about some of your favorite stocks, talking about all of these things. You guys have a lot more requests about Bitcoin, about Ethereum, about Litecoin, Solana, DOGE, Shiba, Shui, bunch of miners, and MSTR, CoinL. I'm going to get to that after a brief break. Okay, after a brief break, because I just want to pee and to protect my golden voice, to try to seduce more viewers to come in the near future. So let me go ahead and make a little text here and saying P break back by 6:30. Yeah, I'm going to make this very, very, very big here. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Had some peppermint tea here. I generally try not to drink caffeine after like 4 or 5 p.m. So do like the taste of herbal tea. So and I just end up kind of going for it. Um, let's see what I've got here. I want to talk about Bitcoin. I want to talk about Ethereum and kind of take it from there. So Bitcoin. Without further ado, here's Bitcoin. I have all these like different Gantt charts here, drawn with different metrics, and they all are very important numbers that we generally try to base the Gantt off. So I got a Gantt chart here with like 360 and 500. I got another Gantt chart here. Whoa, this is like, yeah, this is 720 and 500. You know, I think I have, this is a monthly one, I think. I'll have 360 and 1000, right? So 360, 500, 360, 1000, 720, 500. What am I seeing amongst all of these? Well, let's take a look at these individually. Gantt square basically have these like Fib circles and Fib lines here. These all based on Fibonacci. Like if you want to learn how to draw them, I have a members only video that teaches you how I do it on log scale. I predominantly look at these like really high beta assets on log scale because I think that really is able to let me know like what's going on. I can't look at linear. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So looking at log scale, let's look at this one first. 360, 500. What are we seeing here? We're seeing some pretty decent market symmetry. It's just basically every single time when it hits an arc, it's gotten resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, right? And right now we are getting back inside the arc. And right now we are going to hit resistance here again pretty soon, right around 107,000, 107,000, 108,000. Probably going to be resistance. We're probably going to gravitating back up to that level over there. And that's okay, but it was able to find support here. What kind of support was it finding at? Well, it was finding support here at this other Gantt chart over here. You see how these, like, you know, this is the 720, 500. And this also gives you some pretty decent market symmetry where if I do this all the way from COVID over here, it really gives you some really decent market symmetry in terms of these arc over here is resistance, push through, back test the horizontal zone, and right now it's been rejected over here at the Gantt arc here. Both of those Gantt charts, the reason why I think that I said that, hey, whenever price get up here to like 103,000, I think it's going to end up going sideways here for a while. We ended up doing that. Whenever it got up here, people were like, it's just going to push through. I'm like, no, it's going to go sideways. And whenever people are like, whenever price like down here to like the 91,000 or 88,000, whatever, people say it's going to go a lot lower to like 80,000. They're like, no, not necessarily. It's got some pretty interesting market symmetry here. It's flipped this whole angle from like resistance to support, right? Resistance, and now it's flipping it to support. It looks like it wants to use this angle to probably push through the arc here. And so far, if we end up closing the week like that, this would be a bullish engulfing candle, right? So looking pretty decent. Now look at another Gantt chart here with different market symmetry, 360 and 1000. What do you see here? Beautiful chart, by the way. Beautiful chart. I did such a great job identifying this. Man, I like this is so awesome. I'm so awesome. Whatever. But basically just arc after arc. Right? It backtests the arc over here, and also was holding the horizontal line over here. And when it's done testing, where is it going to do? It's going to gravitate up to the next level, right? Where is it going to gravitate to? It initially got rejected here at this arc, but it was able to push through the arc here. Got rejected the angle over here. So what does it do? Came back and back test the arc here, stuck in a range here for about 7 or 8 weeks, right? Stuck in a range here for about 7 or 8 weeks. I think it back tested the arc here enough, right? I think it back tests the arc here almost perfectly. I think it's done a good enough job. I think it's going to keep pushing up higher. On a higher time frame on the monthly, I just think that it's ready to gravitate up to the next level. If you just look at the price action ever since 2012, I got a Gantt here too. And you can see how it's just basically gravitated from one arc to another. Back test the arc and just shoot up to the next arc, right? Back test the arc, just shoot up to the next arc, right? Here, it didn't really get past the arc here, actually, because it kind of came back down a lot lower. But here, you're able to push through the arc and back test the arc, right? So we're very similar juncture here as we were over here, as we were over here. Where's it going to go next? Well, you have again horizontal line up here around 200,000. One question somebody was asking me was, where do I think the base case for Bitcoin to go, and where do I think is the max case for Bitcoin to go? I'm a lot more bullish than most now, and I'm gonna go crazy here because it's all speculation. Nobody knows. You listen to 1,000 people in cats. 1,000 people in cats are gonna give you some, very different answer. So the way I see it is it's going to gravitate up here to 200,000 is what I'm thinking this cycle would go. I would say probably minimally to I would say probably minimally to the 1.618 here on log fib. 174,000 probably minimally. It could push through that and gravitate up to the next scan horizontal here, which is going to be 200,000, almost exactly to the dot. If it pushes through that, then you're talking about if it makes another like crazy parabolic move, which again, if you think that this time is different, then never mind, right? If you think that the last time Bitcoin went up a lot was because of crazy money printing, that you're missing this whole cycle over here and the whole cycle over here. If you're saying that you have diminishing return and because you're going to need a lot more liquidity to come in to push Bitcoin a lot higher like it did over here, you're not wrong, except that there is a lot of liquidity coming in. There's not enough Bitcoin on exchanges. There's a lot of institutional interest this time. And there's a lot more financial instruments to suck liquidity into Bitcoin whenever it decides to go euphoric, right? So I just think that Bitcoin would keep going up higher whenever it wants to. And generally, if we're still waiting for the parabolic phase to happen, like keep in mind, right, I have some like crazy targets up here around like 2.618, 774,000, right? That's a crazy target. I bet it's probably going to stop short of that, but that's probably the max that it could go. I don't think it's going to go to like a million, 100,000. If it does what it did before, and I still think that there's a good chance to do that because I still think that we haven't really had that euphoria. We haven't really have that expansion phase yet. I think that whenever you have the expansion phase, that if you have some really crazy green candles to go up, it's going to drag the upper Bollinger Band up to allow price to go up higher. It's also going to drag the lower Bollinger Band all the way down to the ground. Right? It has happened pretty much throughout the entire few cycles that Bitcoin has had in the past, where whenever you have something so parabolic go up, you have the Bollinger Band dragging all the way down to the ground to the negatives. Right? That hasn't really happened yet for Bitcoin. It's just doing that like expansion, contraction crap. Right? Same thing, expansion, contraction, crap. Expansion, contraction, crap, right? It has a parabolic move. I think it will because it is still riding the upper Bollinger Band way up. And a lot of people are scared about this bearish candle here, but ignoring the trend, right? You can't take a single candle in isolation. Candle here. I don't want to talk trash or anything because the month hasn't really closed yet. But the Bollinger Band is expanding. The trend is going up. Like, don't ignore the trend. Just look at one candle, right? That's my point here. So I those are my kind of base case and top price kind of thing. And the other thing I think somebody was mentioning too was the bearish divergence thing on the RSI on the monthly. And I just gotta say, like, I don't think that I think Bitcoin's gonna break the bearish divergence here. I don't think it's gonna be like a bearish divergence like it is over here. I think it's going to break the bearish divergence over here. I think most likely there's an RSI trend line for Bitcoin that goes like this, right? All these top here forms a trend line. I think it's going to hit the trend line. And even if it makes a lower high here underneath the trend line, price can still peak up a little bit. Like this lower high here in RSI, price made a higher high over here, right? We haven't even touched that. So I still think that Bitcoin has a ways to go. That's what I'm thinking. Like global liquidity just literally backtest the breakout zone, and if it's finds support, which I think it will, then it's going to go up higher, and I think Bitcoin will go a lot higher with it. That's really the basic of Bitcoin. Before I talk about Ethereum, I just want to say that the greatest pain on earth is not to have nothing. The greatest pain on earth is not to have how do you say that? The greatest pain on earth is not to have nothing. It's not to be poor. It's not to have like some terrible things happen to you. It's actually not the worst thing. The worst thing is to have your expectations not met and to see somebody else have it better than you. before I get to Ethereum, I just want to say that because the Ethereum chart is just fine. There's nothing wrong with the Ethereum chart. The greatest pain is you just like you're eating a salad. You went to McDonald's and you order a salad. Why did you do that anyway? But you went to McDonald's, you order a salad, and next thing you know, you look at somebody else, they're eating like a juicy quarter pounder or whatever, and you're seeing the fat coming out the burger. Like you're looking at them, they have it so much better. Why am I eating a salad? I came to McDonald's. I expect anyway. I guess this is like Ethereum. The chart itself is fine. There's nothing wrong with the chart. It is bullish, right? It is flipping the 20-month moving average from resistance to support, right? All these wicks down here is just basically backtest a very, very important level, right? And it simply just got rejected here on up the Bollinger Band here because it's not impulsive enough to push price up higher yet. You have a very, very bullish candle here on November, and you have so far 2 months after that, and we're not even really able to break through half of that. This is a bullish chart. This is a great, this is a salad. Some people like salad, because if you have a longer term view, salad can be healthier. I like salad, so you don't get burnout all the way. You're not gonna take an afternoon nap. Salads are good, right? Salad back test of the Ichimoku cloud, right? Salad breakthrough of the Tenkan Kitchen here again, and salad back test of the Tenkan again, right? Salad is good. There's nothing wrong with salad. The other thing too is, I guess I do have a Gann chart here. I don't really want to show that Gann here. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Let's talk about FIT levels here. I do want the month to close about the 0.786 so bad though, because basically what it's doing right now is just kind of came back down, broke through the 0.5, break through above to get above to 0.786 here. Actually, I'm going to draw another FIT level here. It got rejected at 0.86 because if it breaks above 0.786 and if it breaks 0.86, then it lights up from here. Market maker said, too early in the cycle, can't do that. I want to grab liquidity. You go back down there to 0.618. You back test that area. You grab liquidity down to 0.5. Back test this horizontal level over here before going up. Okay, and Ethereum was like, okay, fine, I'll do what you tell me to do because it has consciousness, whatever. But right now, I really want to see it holding 0.786. Now, this is all on log scale, right? If you're talking about linear scale, I really want to see it holding 0.618. Regardless, I wanted to get above 3,300 and change. That's what I want to see it get above. If it's able to close the month about 3,376, I think there's going to be definitely further bullish continuation moving forward. I'm not concerned about the Ethereum chart. The only thing I'm concerned about the Ethereum chart is you're in a. I can make so many different analogies. Not even funny. You're in a Volkswagen and then somebody's driving a Porsche and anyways. There's nothing wrong with a Volkswagen, guys. Nothing wrong with it. If you're looking at the market behavior, if you're looking at cycle, I don't think that this is out of the ordinary in terms of what Ethereum is doing, even though the narrative is going to be extremely, how do you say that? Even the narratives are going to basically trash Ethereum to the ground, and that's kind of when it's time to buy, to be honest. I was looking at this and I was kind of comparing where we are at the cycle compared to where we are at the Bitcoin cycle from the past, right? I think we're exactly where we're supposed to be. Because if you're also looking at the FIT levels here, from here to there, whenever Bitcoin starts to make, whenever Bitcoin starts to really push up to make all-time highs, Ethereum still hasn't really broken about the 0.786 yet from the last cycle, right? It's still underneath the 0.786 whenever Bitcoin made an all-time high here, right? And I think that right now, we are at the juncture where Bitcoin wants to run up. Ethereum is lagging behind in a very, very similar manner like we did over here, right? The conversion line of the Ichimoku cloud is also kind of telling you where prices are. Over here, the current cycle, Ethereum actually has looked extremely bullish. It's just kind of riding the conversion line up. It has a breakdown underneath it for about 3 months, and it just kind of pushed back for about back testing again. It looks like it wants to go higher. Last cycle, it actually went underneath the conversion line or tanking here for like 8 months, right? COVID helped. Eventually able to break through back above, eventually going to make a little bit of a higher high here. Didn't really quite back test the conversion line, but it did lag behind Bitcoin by a month, right? Here, a big giant green candle here. Ethereum did nothing. Here, a decent green candle here being built up currently for Bitcoin. Ethereum is doing nothing. Doesn't mean that it's going to do nothing forever, but it certainly feels like that when you're holding it right now. I understand that the pain and the suffering of Ethereum holder is real. And all on top of that, I'm just going to show a couple of Gann charts here too. I got a Gann here as it's done on a weekly. I think it's basically holding the ARK here after coming back, then back testing the ARK down here below, back testing the ARK. I think it wants to go up to the ARK next above. Probably going to spend very little time here, and it's going to probably shoot up and probably going to go up a lot higher over time. I got a couple of other Gann charts over. I think I got a Gann over here, right? And this is drawn to monthly. Right now, you know how I said that this area over here is very similar to this area over here back in October 2020. We're hovering underneath an ARK over here, and we've just been rejected by the ARK up here from the previous all-time high. Got rejected by the ARK up here from the previous all-time high. Came back down, challenging it again. Here, challenged it once and just pushed through. Here, we challenged it the second time. I think the second time trying to push through. Very similar juncture over here versus over here. I just see enough similarities. Even look at the 20-month moving average. Very similar juncture between the two. So I think Ethereum is going to do fine. And if this Gann chart turns out to be valid, then if it breaks above, if it ends up not stopping short, it can always stop short. It doesn't have to go to the next level. But if it ends up not stopping short, it can really go anywhere between like 30 to 40,000, which I think is a possibility, because whales have accumulated Ethereum over here for about 2.5 years. And they're not just gonna like end the cycle like right around here. Probably they want to push this a lot higher over time. I just don't know the trajectory. I don't know how long. I don't know whether or not these exact levels are going to hit. All I know is I'm looking at fractals, I'm looking at cycle behavior, and so far I'm not really seeing anything concerning about Ethereum. Is that good enough for you? Is that good enough for you, Ethereum holder? Am I talking about Ethereum enough for you guys to want to tune out? Is this good enough for you? Litecoin. Somebody asked about Litecoin. I don't really chart Litecoin that much. All I've been looking at with Litecoin is I think that it's just like a little bit of an enigma. I don't know what to make of it. It looks like a big, giant, ascending triangle in the building. Like this looks like it just wants to maybe end the cycle back up here around $415. Kind of how the last two cycles have ended. And so the FIB levels here in terms of what we're seeing. Well, I'm going to get rid of this volume shelf here because it's distracting. Well, I got to say, the biggest chance for it to do anything this cycle is it has to at least minimally break through the 0.786 and 0.86. If it breaks through these, and if the trend is still not exhausted, there is a chance for it to make some all-time highs. And if it does make some all-time highs, which there's no guarantee, because unless if there's like some ETF or some money flowing through, I don't know. Like Litecoin, I just don't really honestly see that much utility for it. And because this still hasn't really made all-time high from the last cycle, I just don't know whether or not it's going to do that this cycle. Again, if Bitcoin goes up to like something crazy like 700,000 or something like that, maybe it make a all-time high, maybe push to 1.236 or 1.414 and make a 10x or like a 7x. I don't know. I mean, it's possible, but minimally it needs to show that it has enough juice to kind of break through 0.786 and 0.86. Minimally has to break through $300 before it really do anything. If it closes a month above $300, and if it does that over the next 5 or 6 months, then we're talking, right? Then we're talking. That's kind of what I'm thinking about the structure, and that's kind of what I'm thinking about the target. Solana. Somebody always asks about Solana. And Solana, I gotta say, like it's just lagging behind Bitcoin for a very long time, and I'm seeing a lot of people getting really bullish on Solana again, which makes me a little bit worried about Solana, to be honest. It did end up so far for the month. It did end up challenging the previous all-time high again. It got rejected here last time back in November. It did end up challenging it again with a bullish engulfing candle. I think Solana is going to do fine this cycle. I think Solana most likely is going to hit either 1.44 or the 1.618. It's probably going to make at least like another 4x or another 8x from here. I just don't know whether or not it's going to make another like something crazy, like went from $8 to 260. Like how many x is that? Like 50x or 40x or something like that. I don't think it's got that much left to it. I do think that it has probably another 4, 5, 8x. Sure, I think it's fine. Like, but I don't know. Like Solana, whenever it makes a move like that, and it just happened with like the last 2 years, I just think that there are a lot of people that are going to want to take some profits. And when they take profits, you're going to have some loss of momentum. Even though the narrative of Solana is great, I mean, like, you know, it's a very fast blockchain. Probably works better in Ethereum. It doesn't shut down, you know, periodically. So yeah, I mean, I think Solana's going to do just fine, but I just don't know whether or not it's going to make like some crazy targets up here above that some people might be expecting. We'll see. We'll see. I'm a little skeptical on that, but I'm still pretty bullish on Solana. If you also look at the lower time RSI here, I think there's one concern here that I'm seeing with Solana is that I think it's going to push through all-time high, but it's still doing all of this over here on the weekly on bearish divergence. And it really is looking like a little bit exhausted. So if it really wants to push up a lot higher, it really needs to break this RSI trend line. So whenever it gets up to RSI trend line, so it might be probably like $300 or something like that, it really needs to show some momentum, maybe even back test all-time high, and then push through. Break this RSI trend line that we're talking. But so far, we're going up on bearish divergence. So and the narrative is a little bit too euphoric for my liking. So I that's what I think about Solana. Moving on to the DOGE. Dogecoin is so straightforward, guys. I don't even have anything else to say. I'm gonna just say a couple things. One thing is I've been bullish on Dogecoin for the last 2 years, and it's been making nothing but higher highs and higher lows because it's just been doing that. They've been accumulating. They want to pump it. Do I think this is the end of the cycle? By no means. I don't think so. It looks like it's on the verge of truly breaking out the Ichimoku cloud here on a monthly. Last cycle, I didn't even care. Last time, it was just slicing through like butter. You know, this cycle is eating salad. Like little Doge is eating salad. Dogs eat anything, by the way. They're disgusting animals that I love. Anyway, it's trying to push through the monthly Ichimoku cloud. Maybe we can close about the monthly Ichimoku cloud and not have like a false breakout like we did over here last time, and coming back test the Tengen Kitchen, the red and blue line, which held, by the way. And right now you are pushing back up. Right now it's a little bit inside candle here, consolidating sideways. Favor bullish continuation. And we're at the phase where I think we're starting to have a little bit more of exponential move here because the low Bollinger Band is all the way down to the negatives. It's happening. Doge is happening. Doge is happening right in front of you, and you might not even know it. But the FIP level here too, one very important FIP level to break is the 0.786, right? If it truly breaks above 0.786, then you're talking about some all-time high stuff, right? Last time, what happened? Let's look at the last cycle to see what happened here. Here, this cycle so far, we had a little bit of false breakout about the 0.786, got rejected, came back tested 0.618 almost perfectly. Dog COVID, came back down, back test because it got sick. But basically, it was like a little bit of liquidity grab because price wants to push through 0.76. Here, we spent about 8 weeks on this nonsense shenanigans. What did we do last time on the last cycle? Right around this area. The area around here is equivalent to this area around here, right? The reason why I say that is if you do the FIP level from the cycle high to the cycle bottom, if you zoom in over here, what did we do? We spent 4 weeks here, nothing more. It actually pushed through, had a wick through the 0.86, got rejected there, hovering around the 0.786 and 0.618 here for 4 weeks and just pushed through, right? back tested 0.618 almost perfectly, and then pushed through. There's nothing majorly different on this cycle compared to the last cycle. How far did the last cycle get? It got to 2.272, right? It did have a stop here, close to the 1.618 on a lock fib, but it did eventually make another like up higher to 2.272, right? Are we going to get to 2.272 this cycle? Are we going to do that? I don't know. Like, I really don't know, because like that would just be absolutely insane for Doge to even get to. I think 1.618 is a reasonable target. $4 Doge is a reasonable target, right? You're talking about 2.272, like $24 Doge? Like, what the heck are we talking about here? What's the market cap that ends up doing that, right? If you just, this is like the market cap here, by the way. If I just do a fit level here, and this is going to be subjected to change, obviously, because if you complain about miners diluting you, you know what dilutes you constantly? Doge dilutes you constantly, right? If you look at the market cap, it got rejected perfectly off the 0.86, and it looks like it wants to push through. If it gets to 2.272, and it's going to go higher, by the way, because they're going to dilute, right? But if it gets to 2.272, you're talking about $3 trillion market cap for Doge. Like, what the heck are we talking about here? I don't know. Anyway, Shiba. Shiba. What do I got here? Consolidating sideways over here, but over here, it's consolidating where it needs to do, right? Because it's forming a higher low over here. It just hasn't really been able to form a higher high. If anything, if you ignore this wick here, I think it's a little bit of equal high here, and it's still trying to form a higher low here. I think that Shiba is going to be okay. It's just still hovering underneath the Ichimoku cloud here on the weekly. But once it breaks the Ichimoku cloud on a weekly, and coincidentally, if it's able to break through the Ichimoku cloud on a weekly, as well as breaking through 0.618, which it got rejected twice over here, then I think it can double in a hurry to 0.786, push through 0.786 and maybe 0.86. Then you're talking about some of their higher targets up here above. I think that Shiba probably will hit 1.414, 1.618 this cycle. If it hits 1.618, that's a 20-something X, right? Hits 1.414, that's like a 13X or something like that, right? It's hovering around, building a lot of energy. I think it's going to break through. And I have faith in Shiba because it's not as explosive as what Doge is doing, but the upper Bollinger Band is still going up. It's still expanding. It's still a bull trend. It's still a bull trend unfolding, right? 21 moving average is curling up. Price is high up here. It's just underneath resistance right now. It just needs to kind of wait for liquidity to come back and break through. That's what I think about Shiba. What else do I have here? Talk about that. How do you say this altcoin here? All right. Without any of the silliness here, just look at this GAN art here that I have for SUI. When you don't know how to pronounce somebody's name, you just say their alphabets, I guess. All right, so what are we seeing here? We're seeing that it's just basically breakthrough an art, backtest an art, breakthrough an art, backtest an art. So I think next level, it wants to probably go up higher. I actually think this is one of the outperformers so far. It's holding extremely well for a Saturday night dump. When a lot of altcoins are down, it's still holding pretty well. Every single time it goes up, it has like all these demand wicks underneath. I think it's going to be pretty decent on the way up here. I think it's going to end up grounding up to the ARK up here, because it's also not just backtesting ARK, but also backtesting the 1.618, and it's holding pretty well. So the next logical level is going to be the ARK up here, and also 2.272. Probably going to end up doubling from here. I don't know the exact trajectory. Could it come back and backtest the ARK here before going up, or does it just kind of go straight up from here? I don't know. It's holding the weekly Tengen here extremely well. And it does have a little bit of a rolling over look to it. Let me check the RSI, see if there's any concern. A little bit of concern here. You see how price kind of going up here with a little bit of RSI trend line going down. There's a potential for it to come down. There's a potential for it to come down, backtest the ARK. There's a potential to come down, backtest the ARK, and hover around here, get stuck underneath the 1.618 again, wait for a 20-week moving average to come up to push price up higher because of bearish divergence, or even break down underneath to 1.414 is possible. But because it did backtest the ARK here, I don't care if it comes back down and go up, or it just goes up from here, which is less likely. Now looking at seeing a little bit of a rolling over, look a little bit of a bearish divergence here, maybe a little bit backtest here going up. I do like these wicks down here below though, so we may not have to do that. Regardless, I see this having further bullish continuation here. Moving forward, ICP, and I'm going to answer the Trump question to the best of my ability, because I have some thoughts, and my thoughts are not always right, but I have thoughts, and I'm going to try to share. Zooming out on ICP, is ICP doing okay? ICP is doing just fine, because if you look at the monthly chart, it's still above the rising 20-month moving average. It backtested 0.236 here, holding pretty well. It initially got rejected here at 0.382, and that's probably where we're going to end up gravitating back towards. In terms of the question that I have, is the likelihood of going to $1,000. Is the likelihood of ICP going to $1,000? That is the question that was posted to me. I have to say, nobody knows the answer to that, but I'm going to try to answer that for you. The answer to your question depends on the behavior of the stock over the next 5 or 6 months. If it gets up to the 0.618 or 0.786 here in a hurry, if it gets to the $200 here in a hurry, and if it pushes through that over the next 5 or 6 months, then I think the odds to get to $1,000 would be high. If it doesn't do that, if it's just spend the next 6 months just pushing like the 0.382, trying to get to 0.5, trying to get to 0.618, it might end the cycle here at 0.618 or 0.786. If it doesn't push up there over the next like 6 months or so, then if it doesn't have the momentum that it needs to really get up to like 1,000, that's probably where we end the cycle. If it ends up pushing up there in a hurry, let's say you have like the boom, boom, boom candle up here. Next thing you know, like 4 or 5 months later, is like up here 0.618 breaking through. Then I can see that potentially happening. I don't know yet. I think it's still, the jury is still out. The yeah, I don't really like that Trump coin, I gotta say. Now that we're in crypto section, thoughts on Trump launching his official meme coin yesterday. Like there's nothing to chart. There is nothing to chart on the daily candle. Oh, it's an inside candle. It's going to favor further bullish continuation. Let's look at the hourly candle here. There's really nothing to chart, right? I don't like to buy anything that just came out. I never want to buy any IPO or any SPAC or any new token within the first year or two, and I don't care what it is anymore, because as a chartist, I have nothing to go on, and I think that it could suck liquidity out from other things too, which it might be doing that against Ethereum temporarily. And with price launching from $10 and it goes all the way to like 34, 35, it didn't really take a whole lot of money to do that, by the way. I think this actually looks like it's just consolidating sideways. It looks like it wants to keep going higher. But I don't have enough data to kind of go off on whether or not there's any commentary in terms of them launching a coin like this, and how it reflects onto the whole cryptocurrency market. I think it's no different from like money getting sucked into Pepe or money getting sucked into a dog with hat. Like I don't see, like, there's a lot of hype, but ultimately it's like a one-time thing. I'm gonna stay away from that, because I just don't have enough information to kind of go off on. That's what I have to comment on that. Hopefully that's a satisfactory answer, because it's yeah, I'm not gonna touch it. MSTR. Talk about the use, shall we? Let's talk about MSTR coin, Cornell. Finish with the miners, call it night. Everybody have a wonderful Saturday evening, and just kind of take it from there. What is MicroStrategy doing? Let's look at the weekly chart here. The weekly chart is basically showing you that it got rejected here at the 1.6 when it closed their arc here above, and it had to come back down where it finds support at when there's 1.414 as well as the GAN horizontal line over here, and it's been finding support at both, right? You had a bullish engulfing candle last week. Things look like they want to reverse. I think this might just be the liquidity grab that is needed to kind of push a lot higher. Usually with consolidation after a big giant move, it's usually about 2 or 3 months and no more. This like sideways for 7 or 8 months is a little bit of a abnormal kind of behavior compared to what usually charts look. Thank you, Nathan, for the kind words. I appreciate that. I got to say that the consolidation over here is unusual, so I don't really expect it to just keep doing this kind of chop sideways. I think it's ready to go move to Challenger 1.618 here again. I think it's going to end up pushing through the arc here. Whenever it does that, I'm going to have to draw a new again because it's probably going to end up going up to higher targets. There's a potential for the cycle to end at 2.272. Potentially. I don't know, like if Bitcoin goes up to like 700,000, something ridiculous, it go a lot higher. If Bitcoin ends at like 200,000, then you might end up like hitting like 1,000, 1,300, somewhere around there. I still think that MicroStrategy is going to be a little bit of like an early burner, but because it really topped very, very early last cycle, like February 2021. But this cycle is a little bit different, I suppose. All I know is that it's really, really a huge leverage play for Bitcoin, so it could end up getting burned early as there's a lot of unrealized profits that's already there, and people might end up just keep taking profit up the way. So even if Bitcoin goes up, if people sniff out any potential weakness on Bitcoin, they might exit MicroStrategy early. But I still think it's got a lot of juice to it. I'm not bearish on MicroStrategy. There's no reason for me to do that, with the exception that I don't really want to chase this here. Looking at the Ichimoku too, and I'm going to do it on a higher time frame on the monthly here. You're still above the Tenkan Kijun, right? Unlike the last cycle where you're underneath the Tenkan Kijun here for almost the entire year and just end up plummeting down back to the cloud over here because you couldn't break through resistance. It tried for like a whole year, couldn't, right? Here, you're above of this here, which is why I really wasn't bearish on MicroStrategy for the entire year of 2024 because it's above the Tenkan Kijun, right? Very different behavior here. Same thing is still above Tenkan Kijun, right? Even look at higher time frame, it's still about the Tenkan Kijun. Here is underneath of that, here is above, right? Resistance came back down to the cloud, back test, push through, back test from resistance to support. You're going to go up a lot higher. That's exactly what's doing MicroStrategy. That's what I think. Coinbase, I love Coinbase charts because it simply just look very similar to Palantir. I did like this side-to-side comparison. I don't know if I can just do it here real quick. I need to bring back the Tenkan and Kijun here because I took off all that to illustrate a point here. But in terms of where I think we're at with the cycle for coin, I think we're at a very, very similar spot here as we were for Palantir over here. This is freaking me out. Okay. I think we're at a very similar spot over here as opposed to over here. Because what happened is we have a big giant cup. We have a handle over here, and we have the same handle over here. We lost some momentum for this big giant move, came back down, back tested Tenkan and Kijun. Here, back tested Tenkan and Kijun, right? Push back through about the Tenkan, push back through about the Tenkan, holding the Tenkan here for a couple months. It's probably ready. Is probably ready, which makes me feel more bullish on altcoins. Actually, I see a lot of more or less confluence between the two. Going back to the weekly chart here, what did it do so far? Well, it got rejected here. The Tenkan, oh no, on a bullish engulfing candle though. Oh yes, right. The volume is increasing. It's a good volume bullish engulfing candle. We are experiencing a little bit of turbulence here because the Tenkan's kind of rejecting here a little bit. but that's okay. It's just temporary headwind. It's going to work itself out. It did something beautiful. It backtested the support band here perfectly and developed a bullish engulfing candle with it on decent volume. I love it. I love it. I love Coinbase. I love Coinbase chart. Looking at it again here, it didn't just backtest the Ichimoku. Like it didn't just backtest the branch support band, right? It also happened to be an area where you have an arc here and also 0.786 here. You broke through 0.786 and backtesting it. It bounced bigly, right? Now where's it going to go? Now where's it going to go? I just showed you in terms of what I think it's going to go, right? Do we have the Bollinger Band expansion? Yeah, it probably wants to gravitate up here to upper Bollinger Band. The lower Bollinger Band is not expanded yet. We just simply went sideways way too far, way too long. The other Bollinger Band contraction here, right? We'll see whether or not we get the re-expansion. I think looking at the weekly time frame, we're going to end up getting that. And I'm very excited about what Coinbase can bring. If you're talking about CoinL backtests the 20-month moving average here perfectly on the way up here. It's an inside candle. You know, it's just consolidating, right? But if you if I tick off the Bollinger Band here, if I go to the weekly, if I do the Gann chart here, it's also kind of got stuck in traffic here, right? Backtest the 45-degree angle, backtest 1.236, backtest the arc here, passed and pushed back up. It also has a bullish engulfing candle. I think that it's going to go up a lot higher over time. If you ask me how far do I think Coinbase is going to go, I think Coinbase is going to go maybe to the 1.414, even 1.618. I think it's possible. I would not say that it's impossible because price went from $32 all the way up to like $350. So for it to kind of go and make another like 7 or 8x is not impossible this cycle. Which means that if that's going to be the case, and CoinL could be like 300 or 500 if that ends up happening. Yes, you're welcome. Pizza in the oven. I made some chicken soup. I don't know if Mrs. Cat's going to eat it. I'm going to eat it in front of her. She's probably going to eat something else. I don't care though. Actually, I do care. I probably should care. I shouldn't say I don't care. But she doesn't listen to these live stream anyway. So CleanSpark. CleanSpark's also looking pretty decent. There are a few things here with CleanSpark that is still a little bit concerning, but is looking better. People are feeling better. There are less complainers on my X comments about CleanSpark. And if you just look at the market structure here, it's very similar here compared to what it did over here, right? CleanSpark apparently likes to do a head and shoulder continuation pattern. It's cute like that. So we're going to let CleanSpark do whatever it wants to do, right? I just want to have you pay attention to, I'm going to take off the 21st. Pay attention to the 100-week moving average. It has been served as very strong resistance and support, resistance, support, and support. Very, very strong weekly moving average that CleanSpark tends to want to gravitate to. And it bounced off of it twice. So I think it's getting ready to push up higher. I think coincidentally, if I tick off the 100-week moving average and now showing the bull run support band, is CleanSpark at resistance? The answer is yes, because it is pushing against a flattening bull run support band. Is it going to push for resistance? My answer is most likely so, because I think it's been forming a higher low underneath here for quite some time, kind of like it did over here, right? Higher low over here as the band becomes flat, as it identifies it as an area of opportunity or weakness or vulnerability. It just pushed through that and just got to the arc above. It could just push through that and push through the 0.618, right, and get to the arc above. I think it's going to push back up to the arc here, and it got rejected here throughout the entire year 2024 here. We'll see whether or not 2025 is the charm and whether or not we can push through that and also push to 0.786. Once you push through the 0.786, then the sky is the limit. I want you to remember 0.786 is $21.52. The reason why I want you to remember is $21.52. The only reason why I remember is because that's kind of where the top of this Ichimoku cloud is at. If it breaks through the top of the Ichimoku cloud right here at the 0.786, then it's going to make some pretty high stuff. Then it's probably going to push through this previous high over here and go up a lot higher. We shall see. It's reclaiming a rising 20-month moving average. It's a little bit overshooting and undershooting here. Again, I keep like changing the time frame to kind of smooth out. 6-week chart, resistance, flip support, right? I mean, this is a bullish formation, resistance, flip support. I don't have anything else to say about it, right? It's also even flipping a 20-month moving average, which to me, I think is a crucial thing for it to do before further bullish continuation. Inside candle, consolidation, we'll see what happens. Overall, I still think this is a cup, this is a handle. If you think that this is a cup and a handle that didn't work out, you'll be right, with the exception that Bitcoin didn't really become a Bitcoin miner. Oh, sorry, CleanSpark didn't become a Bitcoin miner until December 2020. So anything before that was a little bit, like I don't know if I can necessarily correlate with what CleanSpark's doing right now. Mara. To be completely honest with you, it's just consolidating sideways over here. There's a big rectangle over here above the zone of breakout. Big giant handle over here, trying to push through this area over here. Just been having a hard time getting through the $30 resistance. But I think it'll push through. 20-month moving average goes crawling up. I think it'll push through because there's more volume coming in over the last few months. This downtrend, I think, is over. I think December is just like the final flush out because there's still too many people like I'm not a person. Too many people in cats like me that are still posting bullish thing about Mara going to the moon, going to Mars, going to Jupiter, going to Uranus. It's just too many of us doing that. So yeah, flush out, making people extremely bitter in December, and still consolidating here a little bit. I still think it's looking great. Because if I do the weekly chart here, it's just hovering around the rising 100-week moving average. It got underneath the 20 and 50-week moving averages, trying to reclaim that. So right now it's still a little bit of resistance zone, right? Because you put a bar support band, it's trying to push through a resistance zone over here too. A lot of the miners are doing the same thing. I think that CleanSpark and Mara is doing very, very similar things over here. So I just think that it's finding enough support down here below. I think it's going to push through. I still think that if you look at the morphology of what of how things are looking right here, I'm going to I'm going to turn off the other moving average. I'm just going to use the 100-week here. I think this is a prolonged version, an extremely brutal prolonged version. This whole thing right here, by the way, throughout 2022, 2023, 2024 is a prolonged version, a big fractal of this guy over here. I really think that's the case. So if that's the case, then we are maybe getting ready to launch soon, because the 100-week moving average keeps pointing upwards. It keeps on wanting to keep pointing up, right? So that's that. I mean, I can show other indicators, but like we're still underneath resistance, right? Remember I was talking about we're underneath the Ichimoku cloud, we're underneath the Mara support band, but I don't really find that to be like a bad resistance because it's just been hovering around that for the entire year. And I think that there's enough volume kind of coming in for things to maybe change here a little bit. Yeah, bullish on Mara. I'm not backing down. I'm gonna go for the other ones here real quick. Yeah, I think DOGE is gonna do just fine too. I'm gonna go through the rest of it here real quick, and I'm gonna get to BTBT because somebody asked me about BTBT specifically. So we get to that, and I'm gonna end the show here by 7:30 within 2 hours. Bitfarms, what is it doing? Weekly, hovering between these two arcs. It's at the bottom of the range. It's going to lag. I think Bitfarms is doing something very, very similar compared to what the last cycle did. It also looked extremely terrible until it didn't. And when it did push, it like went crazy for like, you know, for like a really like 3 or 4 months, and then it just peaked, you know. Very, very brutal downtrend over here, very brutal downtrend here. There's a lot of similarities between this cycle here and last cycle. And it's also just at the bottom of the range. So I'm going to hold on to my bit farm. It's going to let it kind of do whatever it wants to do. But it's probably going to lag behind the other miners. I think it didn't really have this big pump until December, whereas I think you know, the other miners really kind of started pumping a lot earlier than that, maybe like November or so. CIFR, what do I think about CIFR? CIFR looks good weekly. Got rejected 0.786, still holding the ARK here. You know, I'm really not contributing anything new here because backtest the ARK here. Now it's getting rejected with the angle, but I think it's building up enough energy to push through 0.786 for good and then go a lot higher. Higher high here. If you don't count the wick here, overall it's a higher high, higher low. I don't think it has to go below the ARK here. It already grabbed liquidity down here below back in September, so I don't think it has to do that. Once it pushes 0.786, lights out, right? IREN, again, same thing, rejection on ARK, rejection on 0.786, found support here, we're on support band. It's probably going to go up and re-challenge the ARK, re-challenge 0.786. It's the third time-ish kind of doing it. I think it's going to push through probably this time and go a lot higher, depending on what Bitcoin IWM, depending on what IWM does. WULF, what is WULF doing? WULF is basically doing very similar thing, right? Rejected 0.618, came back down, got close to 0.5, basically back to the horizontal zone over here, finding support here so far-ish, right? Looks like it wants to gravitate back up to 0.618 and to push for a lot higher. Now, with WULF, I think it's a special scenario. I don't know how far it would go, but if it pushes through the 0.86, if it breaks $26, then you're talking about some crazy things happening, right? I just don't know whether or not WULF is going to do that because I think it's already got a lot of gains made already from the bottom to where we're at right now. But we'll see. I'm still bullish on WULF. I think it's going to do well. And I think it's above the weekly Ichimoku here. So relatively more bullish compared to like, you know, CleanSpark and Mara that's below, right? Bitfarm is below. CIFR is like, you know, still within. IREN is just right on top. WULF is like way above, you know, so it's a relatively a more bullish chart here compared to the other ones. So yeah, I think it's going to keep doing what it needs to do. BTBT, what are we doing, man? Everything else shot up a lot. Why are you not shooting up? Well, it's because it's at resistance, not just at the again ARK here, but also around support band, right? Like it's underneath resistance. It's probably going to be a little bit of a laggard. If you follow Bitcoin miners the last cycle, you're going to have days where like your favorite miner is going to do like nothing for like 2 weeks. Everything's going to shit up, and next thing you know, your stuff just pops all the way up. Like I think a lot of energy is being built up with BTBT. Like I'm not really that concerned about the trend. I'm not really that concerned because it's very similar to what Mara and CleanSpark is doing. It's really been flipping the 100-week moving average from resistance over here to support, right? It's just needing to kind of build a nice base over here, and it's a reaccumulation zone over here. And I also think that there's enough volume coming back here during the last leg up that I think we're going to probably end up having enough energy to push through whenever they decide to do that. But we're still underneath resistance, so that's probably why you're feeling a little bit of a discomfort here because you're eating salad and everybody else is eating like, you know, double quarter pounder. Looking at the higher time frame here is still reclaiming the 20-month moving average, right? The bullish trend still hasn't expanded yet, so that's why price just kind of have a hard time breaking out. But yeah, just see what it does. I mean, ultimately, if you ask me, ultimately, how high can BTBT go? I'm going to say this, right? It still needs to break above a lot of these different stuff here. If it breaks above the green arc in the 0.786, then we'll talk, right? I think that there's a good chance because there's such a huge reaccumulation zone after accumulation zone over here. I do think that it's probably built up enough energy. Whenever it goes, it's probably going to push through like 2 or 3 arcs in a hurry. And it could kind of shock a lot of people because it's been doing nothing. Like it's just been shorted like crazy. It's just been doing nothing. But I needed to prove it to me first. I'm still buying because I still find the risk reward ratio here to be pretty decent. But I think I'm happy with what I got. I'm not going to like crazy buy or anything like that. I'm just slowly nibbling here and there. That's all I'm doing. CORZ, what are we doing? CORZ holding support here at again ARK, at again horizontal. and also holding support here, but on support band. It does look a little bit exhausted, a little bit around the top here, doesn't it? Is one of the outperformers in 2024, so maybe it may not necessarily be that moving forward, but so far it's still forming higher highs and higher lows. I might need to draw a new Gann arc here, so I'm not bearish on this. I just don't know whether or not this is going to end up keep outperforming the other stuff. Somebody wanted me to talk a little bit more about RIOT. Somebody wanted me to do like a little bit of deep dive. I'll talk about XRP. I'll go back to XRP to end the show. RIOT is just been stuck here in this arc for a long time. I don't have anything to add, right? Support, resistance, support, resistance, blah, 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 blah. What I gotta say is I actually find this to be bullish because it's about to go around support band. You remember how Clean Smart Mar is below, right? Somehow RIOT is able to get above of it. Is pushing through this arc, is wanting to push through this arc, right? And I think we got a pretty good chance of it actually doing that. And it's also trying to push through the Ichimoku here at the same time, right? It's just hovering. It's building a lot of energy here. I actually think that this chart looks more bullish than the other ones now. And for a long time I didn't, but I'm kind of changing my mind here. It is also holding the 0.382, which is a very important fit level, right? So if it's able to push above and get to 0.618, which is $23.58, then we're talking. Then we're talking for 786. And but we need to break about this arc, which I think is getting ready to do because it's holding 0.382 here well. It's got to put our support band underneath. I think it's probably going to end up pushing through. But this week we just weren't able to because it was still stuck inside the cloud. Am I scared about the cloud? No, like it pushes through and it's just oscillate between the cloud up and down. Like, I don't really care, right? But I just need to break the arc over here before it's going to all these crazy prices. I don't know. That's what I think about RIOT. HUD is a bullish chart. I don't have anything else to say. It's breaking about the 0.618. Hopefully we can sustain this breakout. Basically just push through the arc, backtest the arc. So it's probably going to end up going up to the angle and also go up to 0.786. See how it reacts to 0.786. If it reacts well, then it's going to do some pretty like all-time high stuff here in the arc above. BitDR, I'm going to finish with BitDR here. I don't know where the bottom is going to be for BitDR. All I know is that the support band is already down here at the previous all-time high, but it's got a lot of wicks down here below. So this might be it. You know, try and push through above the fib level here and this Gann level here, and a false breakout, coming back down, forming a higher low. I don't know how low the higher low is going to be, but it's getting closer and closer to support. You're looking at the Ichimoku. You have the kitchen over here, also that support. Maybe that's where it's going to find support at. You know, who knows? Who knows? But that's BitDR. XRP. You want me to end the show on XRP tonight? In Matt's honor. I like whenever something sounds like Matt is that Matt is dead. I like it. Like in his honor, it just makes it sound like he's no longer alive, which he may not be. I bet he's probably dead inside. The guy always preaches like, oh, you know, buy support, sell resistance, buy support, sell resistance. It's like a one of those like RPG characters that just kind of repeat the same thing over and over again. He says two things. That like if you want to learn from him, it's pretty easy. One is buy a support, sell resistance. He keeps saying that over and over again. The second thing he says is XRP to the moon. Like there's nothing out there. I think he's right though. I think it's probably going to hit like $8 or $9. That's probably where it's going to go next. It is trying to challenge the previous all-time high over here. It is finding resistance, which is completely understandable. It could come back and back to 0.86. It could end up hovering around the zone here for a little longer, because I still think that it's a little bit over the upper Bollinger Band here. It's a little bit overextended here on the monthly. On the weekly, it's not that overextended, but on the weekly, let me see. On the weekly, you're running into a little bit of trouble here because you couldn't break the previous all-time high just in one stroke, and you also get restricted here by the weekly upper Bollinger Band. So you're starting to develop a little bit of a bearish divergence here. It could push through bearish divergence, just keep going higher. It can do that, but I don't like to chase. So if somebody's saying, "Oh, I'm buying XRP here," when you have a bearish divergence on a weekly, when it's trying to break through the previous all-time high, and still having a hard time doing it, I don't like to chase. Next thing you know, it just breaks through, just go to $8. I'm wrong, who knows? Because the trend is still very strong here on the monthly. But there are a lot of things on the weekly. I'm just like, I don't know, probably cool down here. If it doesn't cool down, goodbye. Joikin, Sayonara. It's going to go a lot higher, to like $8, $9. I favor consolidation here, and consolidation really mean like it can consolidate between here and 0.86 or consolidate all the way down to 0.786 to backtest the breakout of this level here, right? Which means that it could plummet like 50%, which means it's nothing for crypto to do that. But it could keep going up. Is crypto for you? Is XRP for you? I'm just showing you the bear case, and the bull case obviously is just further bullish continuation because of momentum. The bear case is because you have a bearish divergence here that's being built up, and things can keep going up higher on bearish divergence. You get an RSI just keep going down like that. So I'm not calling bearish divergence saying that it has to plummet all the way down. I'm just saying that it's losing a little bit of steam. So if it ends up going up on bearish momentum all the way up to bearish divergence all the way up to like $8 or $9, probably need to take some profit up there. So, all right, guys, I think I made good time. It started the show at 5:30 and the show at 7:30. Got through all of your requests. Got through all of your questions except for whether or not my thumbnail with cat ears is based on Doraemon. The answer is no, because I just want to draw something simple. And thank you for joining the live stream tonight. I hope you guys have a wonderful long weekend. And I'm going to maybe try to push out some videos here and there as well for things that I want to talk about but haven't yet. But usually after a live stream like this, I'm done. So anyway, have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye.